Well, I decided to make another video. I don't think it's been 24 hours, maybe 21 hours. By the time I get this downloaded, tomorrow morning it'll be 24 hours. So yeah, BookTube. Today is January the 17th, 2017. It is 8:31 at night here in West Michigan. We live pretty close to Lake Michigan. Haven't been out here. I haven't been out to the lake since late fall. Usually we go out there, take photos of the icebergs when it's sunny. If it's sunny this week, it might be sunny Thursday. Today is Tuesday. If it's sunny Thursday, I might drive out there. It only takes, I think, 10-15 minutes to drive out to the lake. Get some photos with my camera. So yeah, so today in my diary, I ended on page 45. So tomorrow, January 18th, I'll be on page 46. Today, first of all, I read in the mornings, Godly Prayer and Its Answers by John Brown of Wamphray. He lived from 1610 to 1679, was a Scottish minister who was imprisoned for opposing episcopal rule and subsequently exiled to the Netherlands. So I was reading that this morning. And then I read some more of Lancelot Andrew's private devotions. I bought this just a couple years ago, but for years I had by my bedside this edition of Lancelot Andrew's in his private devotions. Translator Alexander Whyte, who was also a Scottish minister of the, I think he was late 19th century. It says here St. George Free Church, Edinburgh, Scotland. You can tell I had this with special some kind of book covering on it to preserve it. I had this by my bedside for years and would read it at night when I couldn't sleep or I was laying there and wanted my thoughts to be heavenly before I fell into sleep, have spiritual dreams. So then I bought this, I came across this one, I don't know, this came out in 2006, I must have bought it about 10 years ago. It's a different edition, but at the same time I bought this Lancelot Andrew's private devotions from this publishing company. I also bought this Monastic Diurnal. It's a little devotional, well, it's kind of like a monastic diurnal, or day hours of the monastic breviary, according to the holy rule of Saint Benedict. This was published by Oxford University Press in London, New York, and Toronto. This edition reprinted by Lancelot Andrew's Press, which put this out, and I bought these at the same time. Must have been about at least 10 years ago. The problem is I don't know how to use this. I just can't figure it out, but anyway, I have that. As far as devotional books, I was going to show you the book that my wife uses when she's reading the Bible. My wife gets up and reads the Bible, and she uses this devotion. It's called The Valley of Vision. It is what it is, a collection of Puritan prayers and devotions. I have a copy, mine's down in the lower level. My wife uses this in the morning, among other things. It's put out by the Banner Truth Trust, which reprints Puritan works. See the Banner Truth Trust. So I read those this morning, and in the afternoons, what did I read? I read John Aubrey, My Own Life by Ruth Scurr. It says here about John Aubrey. Born on the brink of the modern world, John Aubrey was witness to the great intellectual and political upheavals of the 17th century. He knew everyone of note in England: writers, philosophers, mathematicians, doctors, astrologers, lawyers, and statesmen, and wrote about them all, leaving behind a great gift to posterity, a compilation of biographical information titled Brief Lives. Brief Lives. This is an abridgment. Brief Lives, which is a strikingly modest and radical way to invent the art of biography. Aubrey was born in Wiltshire, England in 1626, the reign of Queen Elizabeth, and earlier the dissolution of the monasteries were not too far distant in memory during his childhood. He lived through England's Civil War, the execution of Charles I, the brief rule of Oliver Cromwell and his son, and the restoration of Charles II. Experiencing these constitutional crises and regime changes, Aubrey was impassioned by the preservation of the traces of ancient Britain, of English monuments, manor houses, monasteries, abbeys, and churches. He was a natural philosopher, an antiquarian, a book collector, and a chronicler of the world around him and the lives of his friends, both men and women. His method of writing was characteristic of his manner: modest, self-depreciating, witty, and concerned above all with the collection of facts that otherwise would be lost to time. John Aubrey, My Own Life, is an extraordinary book about the first modern biographer, which reimagines what biography can be. This intimate diary of Aubrey's days is composed of his own words, collated and enlarged upon by Ruth Scurr in an act of meticulous scholarship and daring imagination. Rather than subject his life to conventional narratives, Scurr has collected the evidence, the remnants of a life, from manuscripts, letters, and books, and arranged it chronologically, modernizing words and spellings and adding explanations when necessary, with the sources provided in extensive notes. So that's what it's about. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm reading this. As I said, this opens up with the life and times of John Aubrey, which is written by the editor of this edition, by Oliver Lawson Dick. So I read those this afternoon, really enjoyed it. And then I went to a thrift stores. I had to go put gas in my van and go to the bank and get some money. And I stopped at a couple of local thrift stores, and I found these books. This is by Evelyn Doig. I collect them. I have about 13 of his books. This one I didn't have. It's called Winter Brothers, A Season at the Edge of America. It's like a memoir, historical. It's like a memoir, and so I got that. And I found this book, The Mute Stones Speak, Story of Archaeology in Italy, by Paul McKindick. Then I found this interesting book called Tango, The Dance Tango, The Art History of Love, by Robert Ferris Thomason. This looked like a very scholarly work about the tango and the history of it, and it looked really very interesting. Then I found this novel that was, I think, a Man Booker and a National Book Critics Circle Award winner, The Sellout by Paul Beatty. This is a novel. Then I found this book put out by the Nature Conservancy, Essays on the Last Great Places, The Heart of the Land, Essays in the Last Great Place. These are essays by all these different people, you know, John, Barry Bode, Rick Bass here, Jim Harrison, Peter Matheson, just a bunch of people, James Welch, just a bunch of people. So I got that today. Then I found these essays by Amos Oz, who's an Israeli writer, Israel, Palestine, and Peace essays. Then I found this British history book, The Year of the Three Kings, 1483, by Giles St. Aubrey. And then I found this big book, The French Foreign Legion, The Complete History of the Legendary Fighting Force, by Douglas Porch. Looks almost brand new. I don't have any books on the French Foreign Legion. I've always been kind of curious about the French. Looks pretty exhaustive. Looks brand new, like they didn't even read it. It's only 60 cents. So I got these books at the thrift store today. I spent about $5 for all these books. And then during the afternoon, late afternoon, I've been reading John Saturnall's Feast by Lawrence Norfolk. He's a British writer. It says here, England, 1625. You see, this is why I said these kind of go together. This is historical fiction, but the background is found in these books. In this novel, the Cromwellian, what I say here, the England's Civil War, the execution of Charles I, and the brief rule of Oliver Cromwell is all found in this novel, historical novel. These events take place in this novel, so they all kind of go together. It says here, England, 1625, in the remote village of Buckland, John and his mother are running for their lives. Behind them, a mob chants of witchcraft. Taking refuge among the trees of Bucklaw's wood, John's mother shows him how to forge a meager existence from the forest. Peppery watercress from the edges of marshy puddles, clover petals, Milo seeds, sweet blackberries, and wild carrots. But these trifles cannot sate their hunger, so John's mother opens her book and begins to tell her son of the ancient feast kept in secret down the generations. But as the rich dishes rise from the pages, the ground beneath them freezes. That winter, John's mother dies. The feast is John's legacy, taken as an offering to Buckland Manor, the ancestral seat of Sir William Fremantle. John is put to work in its vast subterranean kitchens, the domain of Richard Scurr. Under the master's cook guidance, John rises from the squalor of the scullery to the great house above. His elaborate culinary creations, great jelly desserts with glazed brabbles, and fresh forced meats and stews are unrivaled in their creativity and execution. And when the King of England visits the manor, it is John who cooks for him. Sir William, the lord of the manor, has betrothed his daughter, Lucerita, to Piers Culloch, an insipid man whom she despises. Lucerita vows to fast until her father calls off the engagement. John's task is to tempt the girl to eat, but as their contest turns to attraction, great conflicts loom. The English Civil War will throw John and Lucerita together in a passionate struggle for survival. So I was reading that the late afternoon and early evening. And in the mail, I got a book that I ordered that I've been debating on ordering this. It's called The American Philosophy, a Love Story by John Kaag. It says here, John Kaag is a dispirited young philosopher at sea in his marriage and his career when he stumbles upon West Wind, a ruin of an estate in the hitherlands of New Hampshire. Then this is a memoir of a true philosopher. His name is John Craig. This is like a memoir, American Philosophy, a love story. A ruined estate in the hitherlands of New Hampshire that belonged to the eminent Harvard philosopher William Ernest Hocking. Hocking was one of the last true giants of American philosophy, in the direct intellectual descent of William James, the father of American philosophy and psychology, with whom Craig feels a deep kinship. It is James' question, is life worth living, that guides this remarkable book. So I don't know, I could go on, but it looks really interesting, and I look forward to reading it. So that's what's going on in my book world today. Tomorrow's a Wednesday. I might visit thrift stores north of Holland. Depends how I feel. Today, I felt comfortable leaving the house, even though it was kind of drizzly outside and the weather kind of sucked. But hey. So I'm hoping you're having a good reading week, and thank you for the subscribers. Feel free to ask questions. Free to tell me what you're reading. Tell me about your life. So till next time, bye.